Laziness often gets labeled as a fixed trait, something inherent in who we are, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Laziness isn't a limitation imposed on us by nature, it's a choice we make consciously or unconsciously when faced with discomfort or effort. At its core, laziness is a defense mechanism. It's our mind's way of seeking the easiest route, the path with the least resistance. While this might have been beneficial in times of survival, in today's world, it can hold us back from achieving our true potential. Choosing laziness often stems from fear or self-doubt. We procrastinate because we're afraid we might fail or because we don't trust ourselves to handle the challenges ahead. Rather than confronting these feelings, we retreat into avoidance. That retreat feels safe in the moment, but it comes at a cost. Each time we choose laziness over effort, we reinforce a cycle of inaction. The task we avoided still waits for us, but now it's accompanied by guilt, anxiety, or the stress of a looming deadline. On the flip side, choosing action even in small doses can break this cycle. The truth is, laziness isn't a reflection of ability, it's a reflection of priority. When something truly matters to us, we find the energy and focus to make it happen. Think about a time when you were deeply excited about a project, event, or goal. Did laziness stop you then? Probably not. That's because your drive outweighed your resistance. This highlights an important reality: laziness isn't fixed, it fluctuates, depending on how meaningful we perceive something to be. Recognizing that laziness is a choice gives us back our power. If it's a choice, then it's something we can change. We don't have to be stuck in patterns of avoidance and delay. The first step is self-awareness. Pay attention to when laziness creeps in. Ask yourself why you're avoiding the task at hand. Is it because it feels overwhelming? Do you fear you'll fall short? Once you identify the root cause, you can address it head on. The second step is to take small, deliberate actions. The key to overcoming laziness isn't about making dramatic leaps, it's about creating momentum. Start with one simple step. If you're dreading a big task, commit to working on it for just 5 minutes. Often you'll find that starting is the hardest part. Once you're in motion, the resistance fades and the task feels more manageable. Lastly, shift your mindset. Stop framing effort as a burden and start seeing it as an investment in yourself. Every time you choose to act, instead of giving in to laziness, you're building a habit of resilience. You're proving to yourself that you're capable of doing hard things even when you don't feel like it. Over time, these small victories add up. The more you practice choosing effort over ease, the less tempting laziness becomes. In the end, laziness isn't about who you are, it's about what you do. And every moment gives you the opportunity to choose differently. Laziness often takes root because our goals and intentions lack clarity or meaning. It's not that we're incapable of action, it's that we haven't connected the task at hand to a purpose that truly matters to us. To overcome laziness, we must start with a powerful and compelling reason, our why. This is the driving force behind everything we do, and it is what gives our actions purpose and our lives direction. Imagine trying to move a heavy boulder uphill. If you're told to do it just because you might give up the moment it gets tough. But if you're told that moving it will save someone you love or change your life for the better, you'll find the strength to push through the resistance. The same applies to our everyday lives. Without a compelling reason, tasks can feel pointless, and it's easy to fall into the trap of procrastination. To find your why, start by asking yourself what truly matters to me. This is not about what society expects or what others think you should care about. It's about digging deep into what resonates with you. Maybe it's the desire to create a better future for your family, the drive to build a fulfilling career, or the dream of leaving a lasting legacy. Whatever it is, your why should feel personal and powerful enough to inspire action, even on the days when you don't feel like trying. A compelling why also serves as an anchor in moments of doubt or difficulty. When you're tempted to hit snooze on your alarm or procrastinate on a challenging task, your why reminds you of the bigger picture. It shifts your focus from the temporary discomfort of effort to the long-term fulfillment of achieving something meaningful. This shift in perspective can be transformative, turning resistance into motivation. Clarity is equally important. A vague why, such as "I want to be successful," often lacks the emotional weight needed to inspire action. Instead, dig deeper. Define what success looks like for you and why it matters. Perhaps success means financial independence, and that independence would allow you to spend more time with your loved ones. By connecting your why to something tangible and emotional, you give yourself a reason to keep going, even when the journey gets tough. Your why isn't static, it can evolve as your life changes and your priorities shift. This is natural and even necessary. Regularly reflect on your purpose to ensure it still aligns with your values and aspirations. When your why remains relevant, it continues to fuel your actions. Finally, remember that your why doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. Sometimes the most powerful reasons are deeply personal. Whether it's the desire to improve your health, provide for your family, or pursue a passion, what matters is that it feels meaningful to you. When your purpose is clear, laziness has no place. It's replaced by drive, focus, and the determination to create a life that reflects what you value most. Imagine yourself 10 years from now. There are two versions of you standing side by side, each shaped by the choices you make today. On one side, there's the version of you who allowed laziness to take control, always putting things off for tomorrow. This version is weighed down by unfulfilled dreams and untapped potential. Their posture reflects regret, a deep sense of knowing that so much more could have been accomplished but wasn't. Now, shift your focus to the other version of yourself, the one who decided to take action. This version of you looks different. They stand tall, their confidence evident in their demeanor. This person chose to show up every day, even when it wasn't easy. And as a result, they have a life filled with achievements, memories, and growth. They're proud not because they were perfect, but because they never gave up. The difference between these two versions isn't luck or talent. It's not that one had more time, resources, or opportunities. The difference is choice. Every single day, you're building one of these futures. The question is, which one are you creating right now? It's easy to let the lazy version take over. In the moment, staying in bed or avoiding a task feels good. It's comfortable. But comfort in the short term often leads to discomfort in the long run. Conversely, doing the hard thing today, pushing through resistance, creates a future where you can genuinely enjoy the rewards of your effort. Picture this every time you face a decision. When you're tempted to delay, imagine the lazy version of yourself whispering, "Just leave it for later. It's fine then." Imagine the future version of you who pushed through saying, "Thank you for making the hard choice. This is why I'm proud of us." Which voice will you listen to? The power of visualization lies in its ability to make the future feel real. When you can see the consequences of your actions or inaction, it becomes harder to ignore their significance. You start to realize that the small, seemingly insignificant choices you make today are actually shaping who you become tomorrow. This practice isn't about being perfect or never taking a break. It's about being intentional. By envisioning the long-term impact of your decisions, you give yourself the clarity and courage to make better ones. And over time, those better choices compound. Each small victory builds on the last, creating a ripple effect that transforms your life. So every time you face that moment of hesitation, pause and picture those two versions of yourself. Ask yourself which future you want to create, and then take one small step toward the person you want to become. Your future self is waiting. Don't keep them waiting too long. The key to overcoming laziness and building momentum lies in the art of simplifying your approach. Often we feel overwhelmed, not because the goal itself is unattainable, but because we're fixated on the entire journey rather than the first step. When you focus on the mountain, it's easy to feel paralyzed by its size. However, if you focus on taking one small step forward, the challenge suddenly becomes manageable. Think about the power of small, consistent actions. When a river carves through rock, it doesn't do so with a single surge of water, but with a persistent flow over time. Similarly, tackling laziness doesn't require monumental leaps, it demands steady progress. Each small step you take reinforces a sense of accomplishment, proving to yourself that you are capable of moving forward. This sense of achievement creates a feedback loop. Success fuels motivation, and motivation drives further action. The beauty of breaking tasks into smaller steps is that it removes the intimidation factor. Let's say you need to write a report, but the thought of completing the entire project feels overwhelming. Instead of focusing on the finished report, set a goal to draft just the introduction. Once that's done, you'll find it easier to tackle the next section. Each completed step reduces the mental barrier to the next, and before you know it, you've made substantial progress. Another advantage of focusing on small steps is that it minimizes procrastination. Often we put things off because they feel too big to tackle in the moment. However, committing to a small, achievable task, something that takes only 5 or 10 minutes, feels less daunting. For example, instead of promising yourself you'll clean the entire house, start with one corner of a single room. By the time you've completed that task, you may find the energy to do a bit more. This approach also aligns with the science of habit formation. Research shows that small, repeatable actions are more likely to become ingrained habits. When you consistently take small steps, you're rewiring your brain to associate effort with reward. Over time, what once felt like a chore becomes a routine part of your day. It's important to remember that progress is more important than perfection. Perfectionism often keeps people stuck, waiting for the right time to start or the perfect conditions to act. Small steps eliminate the need for perfection because they focus on doing rather than idealizing. Finally, the power of small steps lies in their cumulative effect. What seems insignificant in the moment adds up over time. Writing a single page a day might not feel like much, but in a year you'll have a full book. Spending 10 minutes exercising daily may seem minor, but it builds a foundation for long-term health. When you focus on small, achievable steps, you unlock the ability to act consistently. Laziness thrives on the belief that the journey is too difficult, but when you break it down into manageable pieces, you empower yourself to move forward one step at a time. Motivation is a wonderful feeling. It's the spark that gets us excited about a new project, a fresh idea, or the opportunity for change. But if we're honest, motivation is also unreliable. It's fleeting, inconsistent, and unpredictable. One day we wake up ready to conquer the world. The next, even getting out of bed feels like an achievement. This is why relying solely on motivation is a trap. It makes us prisoners of our emotions and circumstances, waiting for the perfect moment to act, a moment that rarely comes. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait for inspiration to strike. Discipline is about showing up day after day, regardless of mood or circumstance. It's the quiet, steady force that moves you forward, even when every fiber of your being wants to stay still. Discipline isn't flashy, and it often goes unnoticed, but it's the foundation of every meaningful achievement. Think about it. The greatest athletes don't train only when they feel motivated. Writers don't produce great novels by waiting for inspiration to magically flow. Entrepreneurs don't build successful businesses by working only on good days. Behind every success story is a person who committed to the process, even when it wasn't fun or easy. They didn't rely on motivation to keep them going. They relied on discipline to keep them consistent. Discipline is about making a decision once and sticking to it. It's saying, this is what I need to do, and then following through no matter how you feel in the moment. It's the act of prioritizing long-term goals over short-term comfort. Motivation may spark the decision to start, but discipline carries you to the finish line. At first, discipline feels hard. It requires effort, and it often feels unnatural to push yourself when you'd rather relax. But like any skill, discipline becomes easier with practice. The more you show up, the more it becomes a habit. Over time, discipline transforms into second nature, and the things that once felt like a struggle become part of your identity. You become someone who takes action, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. Discipline also builds trust in yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you prove to yourself that you're capable and reliable. This self-trust is powerful. It strengthens your confidence and makes future challenges easier to face. You begin to see yourself not as someone who might succeed, but as someone who will succeed because you're willing to put in the work. It's important to understand that discipline doesn't mean perfection. There will be days when you slip up, and that's okay. Discipline isn't about never failing, it's about getting back on track when you do. It's about persistence, not perfection. So while motivation may light the fire, discipline is what keeps it burning. It's the key to turning dreams into reality, not by waiting for the right feeling, but by taking consistent action no matter what. Celebrating progress, not perfection, is about shifting our mindset from unrealistic expectations to appreciating the steps we take toward growth. Too often we fall into the trap of believing that only flawless outcomes are worth acknowledging. This mindset not only sets us up for disappointment, but also discourages us from even starting. The truth is, progress, no matter how small, is what propels us forward. It's not about being perfect, it's about being better than we were yesterday. When we focus solely on perfection, we create a rigid standard that can paralyze us. Fear of failure or not meeting that ideal often leads to procrastination. Why start something if we're afraid it won't be good enough? This is where celebrating progress becomes a game changer. It reminds us that improvement is a journey, not a destination. Each step, no matter how minor, deserves recognition because it's evidence that we're moving in the right direction. Think of a toddler learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, but each attempt is met with encouragement. No one criticizes a baby for not walking perfectly right away. because we understand that the process of trying and failing is how they learn. As adults, we often forget this fundamental truth about growth. Progress, not perfection, is how we achieve mastery. Acknowledging progress has a compounding effect. It builds momentum. When we take a moment to appreciate what we've accomplished, we feel a sense of pride and motivation to keep going. It's like climbing a mountain. If you only focus on the summit, the journey can feel overwhelming and never-ending. But if you pause to look back at how far you've come, you'll see the incredible strides you've made. And that perspective fuels your determination to keep climbing. Celebrating progress doesn't mean ignoring areas for improvement. It means balancing constructive self-reflection with self-compassion. Recognize where you can do better, but don't let those areas overshadow your successes. Even the smallest victory, like completing a single task or overcoming a minor hurdle, is worth celebrating because it signifies effort and growth. This approach also helps to cultivate resilience. When we face challenges, it's easy to focus on what's not going well. By celebrating progress, we train our minds to look for the positives even in difficult situations. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means finding reasons to keep going, even when the road gets tough. Ultimately, the act of celebrating progress teaches us to enjoy the journey. Life is not a series of perfect moments, it's a series of efforts, adjustments, and improvements. By appreciating the small steps, we create a positive cycle of action and reward. This not only enhances our personal growth, but also makes the process more enjoyable. So take a moment to reflect on what you've achieved. No matter how insignificant it may seem, celebrate the fact that you showed up, that you tried, that you're better than you were yesterday. Progress is what matters, and it's worth celebrating every single day.